having us to your meeting. This is a larger group of people from the districts around the area you're looking at. We have about 45 questions written down, and I guess people generally have questions to ask. So if you wouldn't mind, we'll just kick off quite simply, and then we'll throw out the questions if that's okay with you. First one's a simple one. How big is the development?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Karina. We have a number of members of the team here tonight, with different backgrounds, from the community team to the project team to our third-party consultants on the project. So we are happy to go through the boards and talk to people about the details on the project.
What we do is, because you've given us such good information on the website, on the 5 and on the leaflets that came out, we have these 45 questions. We've come here and we'd really like to have an answer. So what might be a good idea is if we could throw out the questions and each of the experts who felt they could address the questions could answer them.
We're happy to go through them individually in different groups, because there's different people have different questions. If it's not a town hall meeting,
we're invited here.
It's engagement with
with the people. That's what we want.
This is how the community wants to engage.
So I'm sure there's an expert here on the different areas, so if that expert came for whatever question comes forward, we're happy to all listen. And we'll see if us all go around individually as well, having to hear the story over and over. So all that expert has to do is tell us all what the answer to that question is.
we might be able to address every question tonight, and there may be some ones that we need to follow up with. There's some details we don't have available at the moment. The project is at a very, very early stage.
We understand that, and I suppose at the end of the meeting we'd like to know when you come back with the answers to any questions that you don't have the answers to tonight.
Yeah, that's fair.
We understand from the map the areas within the acres. We don't know the height of the turbines, anything like that. So they're the kind of questions that are encompassed in how big is the development.
Yeah, so the site area is about 465 hectares. We don't have the turbine height, locations at the moment, or the setback distance. The project is a very early stage. It's a development study area outline. Over the coming months, there's a number of surveys to be done that will help us do what we do, what's called a constraint-led design. They'll all feed into the design of the wind farm, which will give us the buildable area. When we have that determined and the location of the turbines determined, we'll be back with that detail in a few months. So you're looking probably summer, autumn 2026.
Great, thank you.
What steps have you taken so far in your planning? What constraints have you already identified?
So we're just at the very, very start of this project. The key thing was, when we have the development study areas to come out to the community, we haven't even engaged in pre-planning consultation process yet with Commission Panola.
You know from the area of land that you have, the hectares, how many turbines you could fit from other areas? How many turbines is it possible?
Well, each site is unique, but a lot of our other developments are built on 900 hectares, 1,000, 2,000 hectares. The closest site to this site would be Cornafulla Wind Farm, which is 900 hectares and has 21 turbines.
So you said that you haven't done pre-planned consultation on board and all yet. So I'm assuming you're intending to make it big enough to bypass the county council.
We have to go through the pre-planning process to determine, does it go to Roscommon County Council or to An Bord Pleanála. We'll have to go through that process to determine who the consenting authority will be.
And when does that process begin?
Laura, you might, or Jack, more detail on that one.
Well, I suppose that would be, it would be in the next year or so, we'll be looking at submitting a planning application.
That's a business planning application. We're specifically talking about the pre-planning.
Yeah, so
So the pre-planning basics.
Well, we'll be coming back to you guys with the outline of what we're proposing. At that stage, then we'll be taking that to the BTC or the council to approve it. It's a constraints-led approach, so we're looking at how many turbines we can get in and versus what the constraints or what the land will take. So but that will guide what way we're going to go, be it BTC or to do what's coming.
So when do you think you'll be coming back to this?
So summer, autumn 2026. If there is any delay in that, our community liaison team will be able to let residents know that we won't be as fast as soon as we thought. That's the current trajectory.
And that will definitely be prior to the planning application?
Yeah, so our stages of engagement are here. Well, firstly, the team were out in the last few weeks calling the houses. We're here tonight to present the study area. We'll be back with the draft area in a few months. A few months after that, then we'll be back house to house with what we call the final layout that we intend to bring forward to planning, and then we'll be back again when we actually lodge planning, going house to house to tell the community we have lodged planning, where it's lodged to, and how they can view the planning application.
Do you have a
Is
name?
your act- general meeting, or do you intend to go house to house just?
We'll be back house to house next time with the draft layout, and then a session like this after the team have completed house to house. And then the final layout is just house to house, and the same with lodge planning, it's just house to
I'm
house.
just wondering, from community group here, would we prefer house to house, or would we prefer to have a meeting back here again in the clubhouse, or somewhere in the area?
Under the wind energy development guidelines and the code of practice, we are obligated to call house to house within 1 kilometre of the project to provide information. We go to 2 kilometres with that information, so we will be doing both. We'll be going house to house with the draft layout, and we'll be back here and in the school, subject to venue availability, of course, with the draft layout coming out.
Can you confirm, is it the 2006 or 2019 guidelines?
So we'll be designing to the 2019 guidelines. And should they be finalised in the interim, we have to consider.
We just
that.
clarify, there could be in the next year, they could publish national guidelines that are set in stone and not draft anymore, but we have to comply with that. Currently, 2019 are draft, 2006 are well old at this stage, but the government has told us plenty of times that in the next year there will be those guidelines, so we have to be compliant with that.
Yeah, so if they're published before we launch planning, we have to ensure we're reflective of whatever guidelines are in place at that time.
Just on that, one of the local councillors that the community meeting last night, she said it could be 1 to 2 years, and even just looking at it, as you went through reading the law, speaking, we say probably 12 months before it comes back again for review. So I think which regulations are going are crucial, because 2006 is completely.
So we are deciding to the draft 2019. This project probably won't be launched till 2027 for planning. If the guidelines are enforced by then, new ones, we will have to look at the design that we have at that stage and see if it's reflective, if there was substantial change between the draft 2019 and what effectively is brought into legislation.
The main thing with the 2019 guidelines, I'm sure people are multiple kind of knowledge of those guidelines, is the 4 times tick mark, have the turbines situated 4 times tick mark from any residential property, and we're going to be complying with that. Okay, the 2006 one doesn't mention anything like that, but we'll be complying with the most stringent one in 2019. So yeah.
What about EU noise pollution and nuisance guidelines?
Yeah, so we'll have to design the layout in line with the legislation regarding noise limits. It'll have to comply with it.
What about the EU Habitats Directive?
So we will be completing an environmental impact assessment that will have to detail the environmental impact of the project, and that will all have to be assessed when it's submitted for planning.
What about potential UNESCO heritage assessment?
Yeah, so we also, as part of the environmental impact, have to do an archaeological culture and heritage study as well, to demonstrate that there's no significant impacts on the receiving environment.
Sorry, was Cornafulla looked at as solar, even though Blackwater I think is going solar, and was Cornafulla looked at for solar panels rather than wind farm?
So all our sites are assessed in the company, and this one would be deemed suitable for wind energy, given its proximity to the national grid, the wind resource in the area, and the company has decided, along with SSE, to pursue a wind farm in the area.
What about Roscommon County Council development plan for 2022 to 2028, which says this is not a suitable area?
Yeah, so we will have to address that in the environmental impact. The County Council will be afforded an opportunity to make a submission on the planning as well. There has been instances where if the developer is able to demonstrate that the area is suitable for wind energy and is in the national good, that it may be consented.
What about the submission that Wind Energy Ireland already made to the County Council development plan, and they agreed with the current assessment?
I'm not aware of Wind Energy Ireland's submission.
Yes, Wind Energy Ireland made a submission.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm not aware of it. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on it.
Your representatives have already agreed to the current assessment.
Well, I don't work for Wind Energy Ireland.
No,
We're here on behalf of,
SSE and Golden One.
Yes, we are. Yeah, we're the and SSE.
Can I just clarify again, 2006 to 2019 regulations? If you get the planning application in before the new regulations are in, are you saying you're going to use the 2006 one?
No, we're designing to the 2019 guidelines, so that will be what will be detailed in the planning application. When you're consented planning, if you're consented planning, usually the first line of your condition is that you must comply with the detail as per your application, which will be the 2019 guidelines that we have.
Just back to the question about the site suitability, you mentioned that one of the reasons it was deemed suitable was because of the wind potential. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, so we have a LiDAR equipment out on the bog that's assessing the suitability of the area for wind energy. So we believe that there is a good wind resource in the area that makes wind energy viable technology in this location.
Have you referred to any previous reports that might contradict that? Any county development reports that might contradict that? Have you referred to anything?
I wouldn't have that detail now, we could take that away and come back to you on that.
Rita, could I ask you a question? It's almost a follow-on from that. What studies, assessments and analysis have you carried out, surveys, etc., to determine that this is a suitable site for a wind farm?
It should be done on a desk-based process actually.
And can we have access to that, please?
Well, it's available, and it's Wind Atlas will be the primary, Wind Atlas for Ireland will be one of the primary resources, and then our own internal measurements that we're taking. That's what we're using to determine whether it's suitable for wind.
Yeah,
And they're saying
that's-
that
Are you independently verifying those internal measurements?
well, we have our own teams from both companies. Who
And how are you independently verifying your internal measurements?
Yeah, so we'll be bringing forward a planning application that will detail an environmental impact assessment on it. That has been prepared by independent team of consultants, ERM Consultancy, and they have their independent experts that will be doing all the various surveys on the bog and the surrounding environment. That will all go in as part of the application, will be assessed by either the local authority or on Commission Panada, wherever the relevant authority is, and they'll ultimately decide if this is a suitable location for the project or not.
And what other consultants, what other surveys will you be doing other than the environmental impact
Ian, you
assessment?
might, different surveys?
Yeah, I can outline some of the key surveys that would be done for this site. So it would be breeding and wintering birds to address potential impacts to birds in the area. There would also be other ecological surveys such as mammal surveys, protected species surveys, bat surveys. Outside of the ecological surveys, you'd also be doing kind of engineering surveys such as peat probing to identify the depths of peat at the site, flood risk assessments to ensure that any situation or situating of the infrastructure is not going to cause flooding in other areas, and then the landscape and visual and noise as well.
Have you consultants already on board for those assessments?
Yes, so surveys are ongoing at the moment. We're still in the early stages, but that's kind of part of the constraints analysis that Corinna was mentioning.
So earlier you mentioned the LiDAR data, and what was the period of time that you used to gather that data? What was the
It's gathering data at the moment, it's still in situ on the site.
When did you start gathering that data?
I don't have that information available, so I have to take that one away.
Do you have an estimate?
No, I wouldn't, I wouldn't be.
Did you
I
do
would-
that?
It's about 6 months. I think.
About 6 months. Okay, so within 6 months you've deemed that that was enough information, weather forecasting, weather situations, climate change, whatever, that was enough time as a sampling to make the project viable.
Yeah, I suppose it's on the back of, it's kind of a confirmation of what is already known about the climate of Ireland in the Midlands, right? It's not just a snapshot in time, it's a reassurance of what we already know. You know, it's kind of building on the layers of data that we've known for hundreds of years and what wind speeds are in Ireland. So it's based upon that. That's done by wind experts, who are none of us here actually there, are wind experts, so we can find out for you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
SEAI have a website called Wind Atlas, and they like go on board with all the wind speeds. You know, once you get above 6.5 meters per second, you're good to go with wind. And most of the country has that, so you know, we're actually a bit higher at this site.
So just so I'm clear, it was a 6-month sampling period to confirm what we already knew with the purpose and the
Yeah.
basis of
Total desk space, really like what you said.
The surveys will be going into the summer, is that correct? The
Yes.
surveys will continue into the summer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do SSE Board 1 expect this to be a profitable wind site?
Yeah, like from Board of perspective, they're a commercial semi-state, and our mandate is to produce energy for the country. And that was our original mandate when we started harvesting the bogs. And we're continuing that, albeit in a different format. So our remit is to be a commercial semi-state.
So like if you're working to 2019 regs and you have to keep 4 times tip height away from a residential house, surely that constrains the usable area
It does, yeah.
that you're going to do.
Yeah.
How is the project possibly even viable economically? Who has made that decision that the project is viable and will have a profitable impact on the economy?
So
No one could.
Just to be clear, when you're developing the projects, right, we start with the desk-based analysis to see, okay, from the desk studies, from the EPA maps, the SEI maps, does this look like a good site for wind? Okay, it ticks the box. Okay, now we need to go down, do the measurements on the ground, actually see ground truth, is that true? Okay. We've talked about having a constraints led design. We're buffering away from houses. We're buffering any sensitive habitats. We're going to go for planning and try and get a site design that suits all the constraints on the site, right? Okay, so get whatever amount of turbines. Then we go into a grid process, and then we go to a final decision, and like this could be in nearly 2029. It's called final investment decision, where they weigh up the project economics fully fleshed out, real numbers, costs of turbines, everything, and a decision is made then whether to take it forward. But obviously, once we kind of have an idea of the site, we can kind of say, generally, wind turbine sites, you know, we can make profits on them.
Just to follow on to David's question there, sorry David.
Why would you even go that far? Like, surely the area is just too small if you're working within those constraints to build a profitable wind farm. Surely it doesn't make absolutely no economic sense.
No,
Why go through all that
It
process?
would.
It's not a square piece of land. It's all, you know, it's not a square piece of land.
No, I understand that, but I mean, the fact we're here, you know, gives you an idea that we feel that there must be an economic potential onto the site. You know, that should be, you know, that's really, I mean, that's what they do. That's what they do for business.
The whole thing, it just doesn't.
I understand
you
that,
know, it doesn't
but we're
seem-
telling you that there is an economic potential there. For
That's why we're asking these questions. We as a community are trying to understand what steps you have taken to get you to this point where you're meeting us tonight. And we heard about a desktop study, which sounds very like a touch and no computer whiz, but that to me is very basic stuff. But surely someone has analysed the economics of this situation and determined from Word Mona and SSE's point of view that there is an economic benefit to this. And we'd like to understand that and see how that opinion was formulated.
Yeah.
Is it true if the turbines aren't operating, you still get paid?
Say it again to me, sorry?
Obviously, the turbines generate electricity when they're moving, so there's no wind, so they're not moving today, so the electricity has to be used, generated by gas or some other form. Are you still getting paid even though the turbines aren't moving?
It depends. That's complicated. It's a good question. It's very complicated.
It's very straightforward.
Oh, sorry. No, I'll say. There's a few reasons why the turbines might not be spinning. Okay, number one, there could be an outage on the line that you've connected to, and maybe there's another generator being connected or a big large energy user. Okay, so it could be an outage. If it's not within our control, that outage, we get compensated in some way for it. Okay. After that, there's different things. We call it dispatch down, when EirGrid, who operates all the electricity, tell you to shut down the turbines. Number one, possibly because there's too much electricity on the system and the grid can't transfer it across the country. That's called curtailment. And could be just general oversupply. There's too much electricity being produced at that time. We get compensated for that. There's localized constraints, as in we're just looking at this neighbourhood, the lines in around the area. They can't get the power out or something for some reason because there's very, very high winds. We don't get compensated for that.
I'm asking when there's no wind, just a simple question. If there's no wind, the turbines aren't moving.
No, we wouldn't get paid for that, no.
Like, you know, I think people here are really struggling to understand the rationale for saying it's an economic benefit and to keep it compared to that one. On the boxes you say this is like six, I question whether that site doesn't tick. And so I think we'd like to see the rationale for why Cornafulla is suitable for wind farm, Blackwater is not. But another question, because this is a very heavily populated area. If you go by the 2019 regs, you know, there's requirements around flicker. These turbines can be seen for 8+ kilometres to go on the height that you're currently building them. Have you factored that in about the need to shut off turbines? Is that like a desktop exercise? Have you figured all that out?
That would be later in the assessment.
So there would be a separate shadow flicker assessment that would be done as part of that EIAR study. and that includes both modeling and a desktop study.
So there's a chance.
And that would analyze all basically residences that are inhabited within 2 kilometers. Beyond that, you would not suffer shadow flicker effects from timber.
But like that and the setback distance, like this is stuff you'd imagine could be figured out in no time. Like why go to all this effort if you don't even know if it's viable because of the flicker issue and the setback issue. And that's just,
Cornafulla bog has an average width of between 1,200 and 1,500 metres. If you're having to put turbines in, that maybe if they're 170 metre tip height, that means you can only install turbines down the centre line of Cornafulla bog. You're never going to be able to fit enough in a length of 3.5 kilometres, and you won't get 3.5 kilometres anyway.
You say something like economically viable. How many wind turbines do you get to assessment of?
We don't have the number of turbines yet. We need to do further studies before.
They are definitely economically viable. So one wind turbine means not economically.
There's a series of studies to be done and determine what constraints are on the site over the coming months. And that needs to feed in before we have a draft layout available that we can bring back to the community. Some of them constraints include we have to map all the houses around the perimeter of the site to make sure we can account for the required setback distance. We need to do noise monitoring over the coming months to ensure we can meet the noise monitoring requirements at the nearest sensitive receptors, etc. So all of that needs to be looked at over the coming months before we come back with a draft layout. Even when we come back with a draft layout, it's a draft layout. There might be further feedback that we receive at that stage from the community, further studies ongoing that could even reduce that layout further, which has happened on multiple projects that we've developed, that we've gone out with the layout and then further refined the number of turbines back. It's very much a stage process for us to get to where we can say this is the number of turbines we're going to lodge.
Isn't that the plan to have economically viable? So you have to actually make the assessments on the size of the site, and therefore how many wind turbines we put on it. That would determine the economically viable. So you can't have that first.
No, I don't have that detail.
Has the desktop exercise to date looked at the infrastructure needed to support to support the construction? Roads or whatever.
So we would have to do a whole traffic and transport management studies as part of
My
it.
question, has the desktops looked at that in detail yet?
I don't know what the desktop study has looked at right now, but I know what we do have to do as part of the environmental impact assessment is we do have to assess all the road networks, identify a haul route into the site, see where is their entrances, see where we can get into the site. Typically we try to utilise motorways, or regional roads, local roads as little as possible, but there may be a need depending on where the access to the site is. But that all has to be
someone has looked at a map and has seen the actual.
No, that all has to be studied yet. And that can influence also the height of the turbines that we can bring the site, the blades we can bring to the site here.
Roads about 500 metres down, but there's roads entering the site and 500 metres down. Surely it's pretty easy now to get out of that.
No, there's a series of studies that are going to have to be done.
I understand the studies, but I go back to preliminary, and it all ties up at what level of preliminary studies are done. So it's beyond desktop, but surely even from desktop you look at the map and you can see that the road access is not
Yeah, so the purpose of, we bring, as soon as we've developed the study area, we bring it for consultation. We now need to go through a series of statutory consultation with various third-party entities and get their feedback. Laura, you have more detail on the different agencies that we have to consult. We have to get all the data from all the surveys that we do, feed all that back in, that all needs to be looked at, and that will be built into the model then to determine what is the actual layout. And then after we have the layout, it's determined access to the site, the internal road network, the internal infrastructure, what all that looks like. So it's very much a stage process before we have different information available.
Would it not be fair to say that the road access is something that stops the project from the very get-go? You know, if there's, wind turbines, there's a lot, if the roads don't allow wind turbines to come in, and you might need to buy land off somebody or something like that, if that can't be achieved, then it can't be done.
Yeah, that'll all have to be looked at.
That'll be the very first thing you look at.
No, that'll all be looked at over the coming months. So typically we try to utilise motorways. There may be a requirement that we have to buy third-party land, we may have to do an easement to actually get into the site, to turn into the site. We don't know that information yet, because we
But
don't
you do know the motorway doesn't bring you to the site.
Well, we do know that, but we don't know the height of the turbine, the blade lengths that we're proposing, anything here. That all has to feed into the study for us to go ahead and then do a swept path analysis to determine if there are any constraints along the haul route that we need to acquire third-party land and to facilitate that. So that all needs to be looked at. We'd have to get consents. If we don't get consents, that could hamper the project.
But
What we-
B&M, just to finish that point, do refuse collection in the area. And I know that they refuse to go in some of those roads because their refuse lorries can't get in. So if they can't get in, you'd imagine a wind turbine lorry, which we've all seen when they struggle. So you think that would be the very first thing?
Yeah, so Board Mona no longer is involved in the waste collection business. We don't have that company. It's been sold. But all of
Point's valid though.
absolutely, but all of that is going to be looked at. They'll have to look at all that when we know the size of the turbine, the size of blade lengths we're proposing. Sweat path analysis as part of the transport and traffic management plan will all have to be done in the coming months for us to determine how we're actually going to get into site. We don't know that detail.
And have you engaged with any landowners yet to try and purchase land?
No, this is the first series. Was the team go around to the house, let people know about the project, and then we're here tonight.
If access isn't got, is there any land going to be CPO to farmers or
No,
family?
no.
That's definitely,
No,
you're definite on that.
We don't see PO land.
For access?
No, absolutely not.
So apart from the wind turbines, a lot of concrete has to go in. So say a maximum height of a turbine, I believe it was 60 feet down for foundation. Is that true?
60 feet, no, you're talking about, you try and get underneath them to dig out the peat.
Yeah.
There's soft clay underneath the peat, it's not fair, it's not good enough for you to take that out as well, so.
What's the maximum depth you might have to go?
Look, it could be anywhere between 4 metres, could be 6 or 7 metres deep.
And what sort of an area, what sort of amount of concrete would have to go into that area to fill that hole?
I can give an estimate only because I'm an engineer and I've looked at this before, but you're talking about hundreds of metres of cubes of.
How many lorry loads is that?
There's a lot.
You're looking at anything from, I'd say, 100 lorry loads.
So per lorry loads of
per base. That's going roughly off concrete and
Yeah, but the-
This is just for one turbine.
Yeah, but the specifics for this project
It's
have to
totally
be worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess as a follow-on to that question, it's a sustainable project that's being proposed as such. And there's a lot of concrete, a lot of fossil fuels are burned to achieve this. Peat has been dug out of the site that people can't use anymore, various reasons, various arguments for that. How long is it going to take for you guys to offset the carbon side of that cost? When does the firm become profitable for you guys? And at what point do you pay for that carbon offset?
Yeah, so as part of the EIR, we do have to do a carbon payback cycle. On our larger scale developments, our more recent ones that we've submitted for planning, the carbon payback has been about 2.2 to 2.5 years.
And do you, as part of that, because obviously if this wasn't happening, like that bulb has been overpumped, there's ESB lines going into pump it, so it's already started to naturally re-wet itself, and obviously it was a fully functional bulb until it was industrialised. Do you consider that as well? Because you're going to have to leave the bulb, and, as I understand, completely drained to put the turbines in. So not only is it no longer a carbon sink, it's a carbon emitter because it's all exposed. Am I right in saying? Is that factored in?
The bulb doesn't have to be fully drained to put in the wind farm. We have to build in British conditions, it'll be a bit tricky, but yeah, we don't have to keep it pumped to the same degree it would have been during harvesting, that's not required.
So the infrastructure, turbines, roads, hard stands, everything typically take up about 4 to 5% of the land bank. The rest of the land bank then is available for the likes of community use or rehabilitation works can be done. There typically is a draft rehabilitation plan that goes in as part of the planning application for our projects that outlines the rehabilitation works that would commence after construction of the development.
Can Cornafulla bog ever be fully restored under the PCAS scheme if this goes ahead?
It's not one of the sites that's listed for PCAS.
Why was it not a site listed for PCAS?
I don't have that information, that's a different team, but we can take that query away.
But just to say, like, the wind farm doesn't prevent rehabilitation in the future. It's only 4 or 5% of the bog, like, it's not preventing the, like, you can re-wet the bog. There's examples where you want to have Cloncreen wind farm, where the wind farm was built, and the rest of the bog was PCAS then around it, and it was successful, there was no issue. So
Katrina, you were 12 years with the company. Many projects have you been involved with who are at an advanced stage of unsuccess.
Any project I've been involved in that we've submitted for planning have not been refused. They've been consented.
So how many can you name those?
Cloncreen, Durnlock, Timahoe, we've only built 3 of them. We have numerous projects of pre-planning. There's about probably 10 or 12, if I'm correct, that we have left to lodge for planning. We have, there's 4, but I work with farmers consented as well. And then we have one project on commission for Nora at the moment as well. So we have about probably 20 projects in total we're working across.
You have 4 that have been
4 that have gone through built and are now operational. Yeah. Typically, like when we come out to consult with communities at this stage of the project, we're minimum 7 years away from a project being built and operational. Minimum.
So how long did it take plan from this stage to when the turbines?
Yeah, so in Cloncreen Wind Farm, we started consultation in 2015. That entered operational in 2023. In Durnlock, we started consultation in 2017, and that just finished construction last year, 2024.
And
Yeah.
are you part of the project team for the dead air?
Yes, we all are.
For all of the,
Yes.
the dead air or something?
Yes.
Sorry, can I just ask? On the biodiversity and ornithology area, are you going to be liaising with the NPWS with your findings?
Yes.
Yes, we will.
If you say it's going to take a number of years to be developed, I know there's new legislation going through the law at the moment. If that's enacted after you get plan permission, you have to abide by the new legislation before it's commenced, or are you going to?
don't believe so. It's whenever the decision is made by the planning authority, that it's whatever applies at that stage is what we have to do.
So if new legislation is in before you start on site, you can still go by the old, you don't have to reconsult.
Sorry, no, the point will be the time that the commission make the decision. They have to make the decision based on the guidelines that are approved at the time.
And they don't retrospectively.
They would like, yeah, if they changed after we got granted permission, we wouldn't have to go back and redesign retrospectively.
It's a race against time then, basically.
Well, we'd be designing to the 2019 guidelines in terms of setback, so that's 4 times tip height, so that's quite an extensive setback in terms of the European context as well, so we don't foresee it being granted to, we don't foresee a decision going much further than that.
Would you like to live 800 metres or 200 metres?
I wouldn't mind it.
Wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't mind it at all.
What's the setback distance in SSE's home territory of Scotland?
In Scotland, SSE, like in Scotland, there's no defined setback distance. It's usually something around 500 metres, and then you have to take into effects from noise, landscape. So it's basically a scientific, each turbine in each house is kind of decided and project by itself.
So what has been the average setback distance for SSE turbines in Scotland?
I don't know.
You can find that out here.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Would be surprised to know that it's usually in excess of 2 kilometres.
Yeah. I suppose, look, that's in Scotland, it's a different kind of housing profile than would be in Ireland. You know, in Scotland, they have vast estates where there's no houses. For miles and miles and miles, that's the way that the land is owned. It's a bit different in Ireland. Like, it is quite difficult. I know we're coming to you as a community and you're saying we've houses nearby, but there's actually not loads and loads of space around Ireland that doesn't have any near neighbours. And the bogs in a way are actually unique in that way that there's a vast expanse of land that hasn't got houses on it.
So what offshore alternatives is SSE looking at?
So I suppose the big one is Arklow Bank, that's in the public. The offshore one, that's in the planning with the commission at the minute, there's no decision made.
What options have SSE actually applied for by the government's option schemes for offshore?
We haven't applied for. They didn't get the word. Yeah, no.
So what is the total systems cost for Airgrid and other generator suppliers to compensate for SSE's current and planned projects.
I can't answer that. I don't think I know the answer to that.
So what ratio of the system's cost is SSE paying for current projects?
It would be part of the transmission system operator charges that energy providers
The
have.
total system's cost for compensating for having a non-synchronous wind or planning renewable.
We don't have that information.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about this particular project, the proposed Cornafulla wind farm, and we don't have that information.
So what's the planned dispatch ratio for this project?
We don't have that detail.
You have several questions there that you find out that information. I don't see anyone taking notes.
Yeah.
Well, in fairness, they are quite detailed and he hasn't ready, so we'll be able to perhaps submit those to us, so these are quite detailed. There's other guys here, hopefully are taking some notes for it. But you'll be able to, but that's kind of a fairly,
Sorry, just on
the
the access
one that we can
points.
actually get the answer for. Yeah.
On the access points, most people know us here, it's probably only going to go in on two roads. Probably two roads that it can only go into that area. You know? So both of them are bog roads into it. So I don't know if the capability, whether you're able to bring in so many 20, what did you say, 100, 21 turbines, 2,100 loads of concrete.
Yeah, so we'll have to assess all that, and we'd have to do road condition,
Just for the villains.
pre-construction.
Just to be clear, we never said 21 turbines, just to be absolutely clear. Sorry, just in case you misinterpreted that.
Well, somebody mentioned 20 or 21.
No, I was in regards to the size.
Five.
The size, I was giving an example of the size, twice the size of this. We will have to do road condition survey, pre-construction and post-construction. If there is upgrades required on a road to facilitate the delivery of construction materials or turbine components, that would be part of the project.
Potential damage to properties being considered as part of that. A lot of properties right on the very edge of the road, boggy roads. People are, at the meeting last night, were saying that they already feel the house vibrating if there's a big load going through. So we're probably talking in excess of 1,000 lorry loads going by some other projects we've done. Is that a consideration?
Yeah, vibration would be assessed as part of the noise assessment that would accompany the EIA. So it's a noise and vibration assessment, and that would take into account both construction phase and operational phase. The operational phase is typically the one people focus on more of the wind farms, but it will also be considering construction as part of that EIA process and whether it could impact.
In the construction.
Can I just jump in there? You said it would be a noise vibration, but the bog itself vibrates if a truck goes by. Currently, will you be assessing the homes beforehand, and will you be assessing the homes afterwards, or tracks, or any other kind of society for movement?
No, I do not believe that's part of the assessment criteria. It would be
Well,
part
you
of
clearly
the-
haven't been in the area at all then, because two cows could walk by you and you will shake on that road. Like,
Have you been up there, lads?
It would be a scientific assessment.
Have you been up there?
Okay.
Yes.
I have not been up there.
No, you haven't been up there.
Yeah,
Our team has been up there.
That's you've answered the question.
You've answered the question. You haven't been out. You don't know what you're talking about.
it seems...
For a lorry to pass any of them roads that you're on about now, we're all people that lives around that area, and there's a lot of houses very close to them roads. They're on boggy side. If you pass by with a tractor and trailer, it vibrates everything around the house, particularly some of the houses. It vibrates everything. What's going to happen to them houses with all these lorry loads of concrete, fill, and everything that you're proposing to bring in there?
They will crumble, lads. If any of you have just walk around the area, spend some time around the area, if there's that much industrial equipment going up and down those roads, those houses will crumble. And you'll have another pyrite scandal or whatever on your hands. That's, I mean, the most simple man on the street could assess that. You're spending huge resources, engineers, all you guys, on a site that really anyone that could look at it would say it's not viable. It's not viable from any point of view. Like surely, like I have no problem with wind farms. I think we should be aiming to be 100% wind generation country. Absolutely, it's what suits the country, but in the proper locations. And I think your expertise and your input should be put into other areas that would be more beneficial, surely, because
the area you're going to get to work with, it just does not make sense in my head how that area could possibly be viable.
Yeah,
It just doesn't.
I hear your point, but we do have multiple sites with projects across the country. As part of the joint venture with SSE, there's 8 projects proposed, and Cornafulla been one of them. So it's not just a case of it's located here. We have projects in everywhere: Westmeath, Offaly, Longford, Roscommon, Kildare, Tipperary, so there is numerous sites across the country.
Like solar farm in there is a completely different venture. It still produces power for you. It doesn't create the hassle or the problems.
What we would say is, look, this comes up quite a lot when people say, why not solar? When you look at the numbers of the land, the amount of land that's affected by putting in solar panels, right? We've just kind of said, like, on these bogs, the footprint of the infrastructure is about 4 to 5%. You could multiply that by 10 for a solar farm to get the same amount of power, okay? Unfortunately, we're in a windy country that doesn't have the best solar now. I'm not saying solar isn't good, I'm just saying when we see that there's opportunity to put turbines on a site, it's just more advantageous.
The distance you have to stay back from all the properties that you have to, you can solar farm them a hell of a lot closer. They're not an inconvenience to people on top of them.
No, I appreciate
They're
that.
not
It's not
a
the
problem.
footprint of the site that people are worried about. It's the fact that there's going to be 200 metre high turbines which are twice the height of the Spire in Dublin. 800 metres from our houses. It's the land outside of the area that people are worried about. I was going to ask another question, but the first thing is just, someone made a good point there about detailed note. Is anyone taking detailed notes from your site? Because
Nobody.
We're recording the audio, and we'll make minutes from the audio and share it.
But that should be
No,
our
that's for us. That's ours.
It strikes me that you're not
Good
interested in
people that
answering
was here with us,
questions.
they're not taking any notes.
How many is here on this group tonight, like? Not one of you, one of you doesn't it? Okay, you're listening, or we don't know.
Are you taking notes? Anyone take notes?
Like there's a lot of questions that have been fired out there tonight to you, and then no disrespect to anybody. How can you remember all them questions that have to be fired at you? That's very valid questions for everyone in this room.
Because this isn't the preferred format of
Yeah,
the
in
meeting.
fairness now, we were kind of, we have each individual contact sheets that we were taking notes, taking queries on what people are giving us, right? But we were kind of, this forum here was not the way we're supposed to have it. We're supposed to have individual consultation with people. Hang on now, one second, just ask the question, right? And tell me what we're doing. We were kind of ambushed here to a certain extent by these pre-prepared questions. That's fine, we can get them. We know they're pre-prepared, so you can give them to us, so we can give it to us. It's simple as this.
Yeah.
We can write these down now, and call them out again, and we'll write them out again if you want to. But in fairness to us, we actually, we're willing to answer any questions sent to us. We give you back the answers because we know they're pre-prepared. So that's fine.
A lot of your questions have led us to better questions.
Sure.
That we had Like, if this is an engagement session, we couldn't be any better engaged than we are now. By everyone being in the room together, hearing the answers rather than picking people off one by one.
Okay, what we'll do is, who's got a pen? Let's go.
I'm sure before there's other people in here, here's some spine talk to see. Is that correct?
Yes.
We did,
How much notes are you taking from the people that are here?
Each one of us has our own feedback sheet that we're documenting what people have asked us, and that'll be fed back to the consultants and the project team.
So each question was answered.
Where we had an answer, we don't have every answer available
So,
tonight.
yeah, well, then if you didn't have an answer,
we'd have to ask people to
There's
get
things
the
that we
answers.
wanted information to, we're back here, like the turbine heights, setback distance, etc. If there was a follow-up needed, their details would have been taken.
Can I jump in with 2 more questions?
Sure.
Are you planning to use the Shannon Bridge Railway?
It's not part of this project. The project is based on the infrastructure within the site. We will be looking to see if we can incorporate amenity within the site and to see can we link to external amenities that join our site. But any planning application that is part of this project will only include what's in the boundary of the Cornafulla bog.
Just a follow-up question on the roads there. I know you've loads of experience in different projects and you've mentioned it. Have you ever worked on a project where roads are impassable?
Well, I haven't worked on the construction side of it. What do you mean impassable, that we couldn't go down that lane?
Yeah, it's flooded.
You can't meet.
It's flooded, like there's hardly roads supporting this bog now that no one can drive down.
Not that I'm aware of that we've come
Right,
across
yeah.
during the construction phase. No, we've never had an issue that we've had to, that we couldn't bring the components into site or the construction material.
So you were here 2 weeks ago, we what, 2 or 3 roads?
All three roads.
All three roads.
All three roads.
2 weeks ago, so we're supporting this for all projects.
Yeah, so that'll all have to be assessed to the environmental impact,
And that's a
traffic,
follow-up question.
transport.
Is it going to be multi-seasonal?
What, the construction?
The construction
No,
too?
no, the assessment. Is the assessment going to be?
Yeah.
But the assessment now should be looking at winter, particularly for this area, it has to be winter and then it has to be summer. Because there's partly roads impassable. No tractors, no nothing, does not safe to put on.
Yeah, there's a flood risk assessment on the bridge project as part of the EI.
So has that already been done?
No.
Hasn't it?
As part of the environmental impact assessment.
And it'll be
Later on
studying
the
the floods on
process.
the road.
Pardon?
You'll be studying the floods on the road. I'm not talking about water levels and land. I'm talking about flood levels on the infrastructure, the roads.
Or the infrastructure we're going to build, is it? Or
No, we're talking about
sorry, the actual roads.
Oh, yeah.
On the roads.
Well, if it's relevant to our project.
That's a point back. You cannot, there's roads here now you cannot pass.
Okay.
You can bring them in next July.
Yeah,
No, no, we understand.
there'll also be a traffic and transport assessment that has to assess the suitability of the local roads, regional roads, to actually get to the site.
Oh, no, we understand that, the width and all
Yes,
that.
that
But you
all-
can take all that, you can take all that into account. But at the end of the day, there's some roads you will not pass through.
Just an important clarification on Amanda's question here. So are you saying that there's no consideration would be given to using the railway line from Shannon Bridge to transport turbines to site? Is that ruled out?
We've never brought them by rail.
No, just something to clarify, so it would be road only.
Yeah, but that's standard practice.
How will this development affect the planned greenway cycleway that we've all been waiting on?
We're going to have to liaise with Roscommon County Council on that. It should be complementary. We should link in, like we can be providing amenity. The tracks that are used to bring the turbines and set them up, they can be used as amenity in the future as well, and it can link into future plans, so we have to coordinate with Roscommon.
Will this project called water pollution, and how is it going to affect spring wells?
So, water management is extremely important on all construction sites. Okay, it has to be dealt with a temporary, drainage design and a permanent drainage design. So all the water has to be obviously collected, has to be collected in silt ponds to allow any sediment to drain out, and then it can be brought down to water courses then when it's had appropriate amount of treatment. So this, the planning commission is going to come up with a temporary design and a full-time design to limit any pollution that comes out of the construction.
So I guess as a follow-on to that, the bogs in the area are a natural sponge, if you like. Will you guys be modelling the data from water displacement with 10 or 100 cubic metres of concrete per turbine, roadway access, the whole infrastructure start to finish? How are you guys going to model that data, and is that something that you can make available to us?
You're talking about the water in the peat, the water in the peat or surface water?
The hydrology studies.
Yeah.
The hydrology.
I mean,
whole
it's
chapter on that.
Yeah, it's a wet area, so.
Yeah, there'll be a whole chapter on the hydrology of the site and the hydrology post-construction. So that information will be available in the environmental impact assessment when it's published.
And will you guys be doing that, or will it be an external consultancy?
External.
And employed by SSE for the money?
Yeah.
Yes.
What is the minimum number of turbines that you need to bypass planning in Roscommon and go straight to water and all that?
So if for a project to be deemed strategic infrastructure development, it's either 25 turbines or 50 megawatts installed capacity. So it will depend, might necessarily be the number of turbines, it could be output from the turbines, because the machines are getting bigger.
So that's the size.
Yeah.
So current turbines on the market are between 6 and 7 megawatts, roughly around that per turbine. So if we want to get 50 megawatts, we need somewhere around 7 or 8 turbines to get that. To meet that threshold, we go to board.
What's the minimum to make it profitable? Turbines,
That's $1 million question.
to make it profitable for you.
Each project kind of is assessed on its own merits in terms of the wind speed on the site, how many turbines, how close we are to the grid connection, that kind of thing, how much civil works are needed for the site.
Does
I
that
have to look
economic
on the number.
model also include any imperfection payments from constraints and curtailment?
All models that would include constraints dispatched out, yeah, of course.
And that information will be available?
That's commercially sensitive information, but you can also access AirGrid's ECP constraints outlooks. They produce them after each grid application batch, so on an annual basis. They give constraints for different substations around the country. You can get
So under the Aarhus Convention for Freedom of Information, how much information is available to us?
I don't think that stretches to commercially sensitive
commercially sensitive
information.
Who decides what's commercially sensitive? You don't know, or you're refusing to say?
I'm not refusing to
I
say.
don't know actually at the moment,
Yeah.
so I don't know, we can find that out.
So just to clarify, the ecological studies that will determine the viability of the project, the wildlife, the flooding,
Yeah.
you do understand these are huge historical issues in this area. Those studies will be done by consultants employed by your private entity, correct?
Yeah.
I think that's a
There'll be
very
the
important.
guidance that was
Yeah.
developed by the government here, which is in the
And we have to demonstrate to the planning authority that we have.
So there's no independent consultants decide or overview the assessments that are done on flooding and wildlife.
Just to clarify, the Commission Planola, used to be called Board Planola, or Roscommon County Council, they're the ones that undertake the EIA. They undertake an environmental impact assessment. They take the information
Based on the information that your private consultants give them.
Yes,
correct?
But they have to undertake that independently.
But they just review it.
But that's the planning process within.
No,
They
they
don't
don't
build
do
a
their
house.
own
They
would have specialists, they'd have ecologists,
They take your
You do understand
The bypass, to go to a local county council, you can go to a Board Planola, because you're talking about the bigger size turbines, so you're going to get your megawatts with a smaller number, so you can bypass phone to the
Off the top of my head, like people have come into consultation when we had a draft layout and they said, oh, I think that turbine is too close, my house is actually there, and I've just started constructing it or something. We didn't have that house marked at that time. So, that feedback is brought back to the design team to look at that. It may result in us knocking out a turbine because the house is there or not. There's different scenarios that feed into the project. We've had instances where people have come to us and said at consultation, we don't want immunity access on our road. We fed that back into the team, we took out the immunity. We've had instances that people have come and said, that site for a substation, it floods, you need to do further studies, look at it. We've done that, we've changed the substation location.
Yeah, but
So it's not a box tick exercise.
that sounds like feedback based on you presented a plan, but you have no plan here yet.
Yeah.
So
We understand.
No,
questions
it's
like
a stage process.
happening to this woman.
We understand the frustration, like, I know.
It might sound like frustrating,
No.
but the point you're trying to make.
And it makes perfect sense what you're saying as well, but there's also the other flip side to the coin is we turn up without too much information, people think it's a done deal and it's all, it's all, whereas now we're at a earlier stage.
So with this feedback being covered, so the questions that we have, how will they get fed back into the various different assessments? That's the question.
Yeah, so they're fed back to the project team and the consultants. So, for example, like earlier, there was one person I was talking to, and subsequently others, and they asked us for a photo montage and flow mat noise. We've asked Ian, can he provide that for us? Then go on to the list and to bring back to the community when we come back in the summer or autumn with the draft list.
Same with the question on vibration as well. I can take that back to people who are on my team who are noise specialists and vibration specialists and mention that to them, and they can take that into account as they undertake their surveys.
It's like, is there any, I suppose the thing I'm wondering is there anything that's a red line for you? Because if every single project that you've looked consultancy communities on has gone forward for planning, like you kind of, again, it feels like you're filling us with hope here, but if every single project has gone forward, then is there anything that would stop you bringing it forward?
Look, it's our intention right now to bring the project forward into plan.
May I ask, at the moment, coming in here and listening to this, I didn't hear all the questions. This nearly feels like fait complete. You're going to go ahead with this, whatever is said here tonight. How long does that process take, and where are you in that process? So you've done this somewhere else before. Did it take 18 months, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, so
And where are you
So
now?
this is the very start of the process. It typically takes us 18 months from when we're here to lodge it. Now that's typical.
To
We
launch
have
the
application. We have projects that we launched prior to this, or in like 22, 23, 24, they're still not going in for planning. It's not a case we're here today and this is going in for planning next week. There's a stage process in this, so it's minimum 18 weeks or 18 months, Laura, if I'm correct, before we'd be lodging a planning application for this.
This will be 2027.
When we lodge planning, there's a new Renewable Energy Directive 3 that's been enacted that sets out now, if this ends up in the board, the projects a decision must be given in 52 weeks. On a planning application. So that's at least a year then that you have to kind of go through the planning process. So that's what we are now.
Does that decision include objections?
There'll be submission period, yes. Then after that there's a period where you have to do all your tenders, procurements, contractors, they all need to be lined up. That could take the guts of another year probably. And then typically at the moment there's different auctions that companies have to build into to sell the power to. You have to wait for the windows to open so you can actually submit your bid price into the auction. That takes another period of time because it depends when you get consented. You have to have everything lined up before you can actually bid into the auctions. Then
I understand that whole process. How long from today would we see windmills?
Yes, so then the construction period is 18 to 24 months typically. So you're looking at minimum 7 years. Minimum.
Before a windmill goes up?
Before it's operational. Usually they start to erect them about 6 months. The first year of construction is the roads, the turbine foundations, everything. Then you erect the turbines, and that takes a period of time. You try to do that during the summer because you need low winds to actually be able to lift the turbines into position. And then that takes about 6 months, and then they start to generate.
The impact on the area in relation to the development of the amenities that we have here, and houses and families. In 7 years' time, our population is going to look quite different to what it does today. So what future planning are you going to put in place to address those concerns? Because once you bring it to planning, it's nearly like fait complete. However, who are the parties that are involved that finally look at all those plans and say, yes, we're ready to submit it? Is it just your own organisation, or are there politicians and local representatives involved through that process?
So there's a formal process now that this project's going to fall under. We'll have to go to the board and do a pre-application with the board if we meet that threshold, or Scommon County Council. They're obliged to go out to all the national stakeholders, that would be the NPWS, Ishka Éireann, OPW, National Monuments. They have to go out and they have to feed back to the board and say, this is our opinion on the project, this is how we'd like the project to be scoped, this is what we want addressed in the environmental impact assessment, and this is what we're concerned about.
So, just sorry to interrupt you there, it would be worth our while to develop a group locally here so that we could feed into that.
That would be for statutory stakeholders, so that would be kind of like governmental bodies and kind of environmental associations, like that would be kind of related to the state. Once the planning is submitted, there is a period for local groups and local people in public to submit and put in their...
A group has already been formed and met last night. There's over 100 members of us today, so we'd love to get you.
Good, yeah, good.
Can I just ask, sorry, someone's talking. Just want to ask, based on your EAIR or EIA or report there, the last sentence states there, the EIA will comprise the following as a minimum. Does that mean that they all have to tick the boxes for this to go ahead?
Yeah. We have to demonstrate that under all of those disciplines, traffic, shadow flicker, noise, air, soil, hydrology, hydrogeology, the peat, all that kind of stuff, we have to demonstrate that it's not going to have significant effects, and there'll be a standard developed by the EPA on a European national level of how you describe those effects and how the sensitive the environment is and what the magnitude of the work you're going to do is related to that.
But the problem is that my understanding is that B&M SSE will get a minimum payment for even when the wind turbines aren't running, which means that it's in your interest to say, flick, it's not an issue. You know, so what independent, how
However,
do we say
it's not us saying there's no flicker there.
well, it's
It's
the
part-
consultant that you pay.
Yeah, but they're independent.
And it's based on specific guidance that isn't developed by us. It's either legislative guidance or developed by government bodies. And then if there is shadow flicker detected at any dwellings above a certain amount of time per day, there are ways to mitigate that, either through not having the turbines or having the turbines curtailed at certain points of the day, so shadow flicker doesn't.
That's all published, right?
Yeah, and that'll be included.
Yeah, their own experts can look at it and make a submission, and they think it's not correct. So it's all open.
Okay. Just on that, just that one asking for.
You were saying there that you have all those things to get through.
Yeah.
How do you get all your projects through them?
No.
We've multiple different teams.
Yeah,
Yeah,
to pass all those things.
Yeah.
How are you to pass them all on all your projects?
We're not.
But you said you were.
That's Board Ramona. So
Yeah, I said
Board
we haven't
Ramona
been
have been very lucky and
refused.
very good. But
we could get refused in the morning for some
Yeah.
But you
projects.
have said that you get them all through.
But they're the ones that we have submitted, that's all
Yeah,
I can
that's
comment
right.
on, I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah, but
say anything
that's right.
hypothetical.
That's right.
Just to finish on the question I was going to ask with the flicker, because you said you'll engage people up to 2 kilometres. Now my understanding is that flicker can be possible for a further distance. There are hundreds of houses within 2 kilometres or slightly above 2 kilometres. Are you going to do a flicker assessment to every single house? And what is the furthest distance someone has ever been affected by flicker?
Yeah, so shadow flicker assessment is done as part of the development, where you identify houses that could potentially be impacted and set out mitigation measures. If shadow flicker were to occur when the wind farm is actually operational, the first protocol for the member of the public is back to our community liaison team, who feeds it back to our operations team.
Turbines down, because what
No,
if it's
sorry, can I finish my point? And we work with the residents to try and eliminate that, and we have done that on sites where we've gone back and said, you know, we've got a call from Joe Blogg from the experience of shadow flicker. Our team has gone out and investigated that. If it is an issue, mitigation measures have been put in place where we have shut down the turbine to make sure, during certain periods of time, to make sure the shadow flicker doesn't occur.
well, the site is, Athlone is north of the site, so the sun is going to be coming from the south, which means that you've got hundreds and hundreds of houses that I think could potentially be affected. How is that viable, and what is the distance that you potentially assess? How far will you go to assess whether?
So we're too early in the stages at this point to say that for sure, but it uses an industry standard modeling software to basically identify and evaluate shadow flicker from the final design that would occur within a certain area based on the model. And that model is based on science that is approved across the industry.
Can I ask a question about that? So if your model is based on 100% sunshine all year round, or is it a statistical analysis that takes kind of cloudy days into consideration? And actually, are you just going to give us a statistical amount and say, well, potentially we will estimate flicker based on a statistical model rather than actual? And so will people be told, well, you're only getting whatever percent flicker. That's below our threshold, so we don't care about you, even if that affects you.
So there are standards on that. I can ask our shadow flicker team and get those details for you.
Yeah.
Just to ask the question, how far do you potentially consider though? At what distance do you consider?
I need to speak to our shadow flicker guys. I'm not a shadow flicker expert myself.
You have 4 complete, 4 successful. You said there's 20 in progress. Okay, 20.
We've got 20 projects in around different stages, yeah.
Are there
And
any-
that's not just wind farms.
Are there any of those 20 that are in progress that's taken longer than the 7 years? Or at a
Yes.
phase where some of them are going on, you're in the middle of the project
Yes.
and you're currently at year 8 or year 9?
Yeah, there is, yeah.
And why are they at year 8 or year 9?
There's different reasons. So we launched one project in 2015. We were almost ready to lodge it in 2017, and then the preferred draft approach for wind energy guidelines came out. So we had to stop, pause, review our design, see where we, in line with the new preferred draft approach, we had to redo some elements of the design, bring that back to the community and start consultation again. So there are some impacts that can impact us.
So some of the 20 that are in progress at the moment, we are encountering difficulties with it.
Well, not difficulties, but just there's challenges, there's different things that can crop up, yeah.
4 have been successful, but there is the possibility that some of them 20 will not be successful.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, there's more projects refused than have been consented, renewable wind energy projects in Ireland at the moment.
Of the four you've
You know, there's
completed,
nothing guaranteed.
Yeah.
of the four you've completed, have you gone back to the population of that area for a customer satisfaction survey? How happy are they with it?
No, well, we haven't done a customer satisfaction survey, but we are in constant engagement with them through our community benefit funds, through our near neighbour programs, through our amenity
And are they happy?
locations. Yes, yeah, probably. Like, you're not going to please everyone. Everyone's not going to be happy. There are some people who genuinely don't like them, and that's fine. Like, you know, we're not asking everyone in the community to accept
Have
these.
you
We
sur-
understand people have concerns and
Have you
don't
surveyed
like
them
it.
about the value of their houses since they've gone up?
No, we haven't. No, but there has been houses bought and sold and built around our developments.
Well, I've seen a report in the body, can't find it now, but it's done in Ireland. It says houses within kilometre of the wind turbines have lost 22% of their value.
Yeah, true.
So, you know,
Yeah, but that's not
a
something
factual report done
that
on
we
sale
see.
prices.
And I don't, if you share the details of the report with me, I can bring that back to our
But
team.
does that factor into any steps in your process, the impact this has on the community?
No, so as part of the development, we'll be looking at the setback distance from the house, make sure we're compliant with that, reducing.
So financially for us,
Shadow flicker, no.
it doesn't
No.
matter.
No,
Sorry, I think some people are anxious to leave, but before anyone goes, I know you said you go back house to house. I think people would find, I'd like to hear from people, would you like this forum as well? You can go back house to yours.
We're doing both.
Yeah.
We're doing both.
Who's the community liaison person you mentioned at the very start?
Shane and Liam are our community liaison.
And do we get contact details?
Other details, well, Shane's details are in the booklet, Liam's article, the project email account, we get both of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you done any long-term studies on the insect and bird population of previous projects?
So as part of all our projects, in part of the environmental impact assessment, we do have to do
Not
winter
just
and
a
breeding bird
snapshot
service.
beforehand, but have you done long-term studies subsequent to
Yeah, so
the install?
Yeah, the councils would usually put an obligation to do mortality checks for the couple of years after you install the turbines, where people would go regularly with actual little
Like
sniffer
a couple
dogs.
of years, how many years would it take to destroy a insect or bird population?
It'd be pretty obvious if there was issues with birds, it'd be pretty obvious within the first year or two.
I guess a wind farm in Donegal chopped up 3 white-tailed eagles. Wind farm still operating.
Yeah, I can't comment on that, but I suppose
Yeah, as
just
part of the EIR, we do have to do a collision risk modelling assessment and feed all that into the design as well.
Just to be clear, the reason we're starting this now early, we've loads of work to do with bird surveys and everything like that. Like, there'll be people out monthly on the bog, looking at flight lines, reporting what birds are there, looking for different habitats where they're roosting. We're probably going to go to planning with 4 years of that data, and all of that's going to have to be modelled, and we're going to have to design turbines to avoid any common flight paths. You know, we're going to design
4 years of data?
I think by 2027 we'll have almost 4 years of data.
So are you going to use an independent body like Birdwatch Ireland to do this work? Or are you going to employ somebody?
It'd be a consultant.
Just on that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So Biodiversity Ireland?
We wouldn't be excluding any data. We'd take every piece of desktop study data we can get our hands on. We'd also be.
There's a lot of questions that we weren't sure of the answers, and thank you for all the information that you give us. Could we forward?
Absolutely, as I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I said a lot of these questions are quite specialist, you know, that they are dedicated people in our organisation to be able to answer those for you, you know.
Just on the house value piece, there's one thing that's good. It's not for your impact, but it's for everyone's awareness. It was the Centre for Economic Research and Inclusivity and Sustainability that did that report in 2023. So that's where it showed house price value dropping over 20%. It's not going to impact, I'm sure. I guess you don't take that into consideration as part of your project. So yeah.
So the industry will competition with you to go
Other industry.
So you just look at the ones you.
No, I'm just saying that